Hey everyone, Combo here, back with another Empires and Puzzles video, and today we have the Soul Exchange information for the February 2025 Soul Exchange event. We have all 15 heroes released, and I am going to do a ranking video from worst to first, talking about all 15 heroes. I am not separating the 10 Soul Exchange heroes versus the 15 versus the 20 Soul Exchange heroes. We are going to talk about all of them together, and there will be some 10 Soul heroes that are higher than 15s and some 15s that are higher than 20 as well. Real quick before we get into that ranking, if you do enjoy this video or find it helpful, hit that like button, make sure you're subscribed to my channel, and turn that notification bell on so you can be alerted of when I drop new content. Now, we are still 16 days away from when Soul Exchange goes live. It will be active from February 28th through March 2nd right now, according to the calendar that Small Giant has put out. So this information could definitely change, so be aware of that. But we are going to rank these heroes based on the list that came out yesterday. This graphic right here that I am showing are all 15 heroes and how many souls it costs to get each of those. And without further ado, let's get into our ranking. Starting out at number 15, I have Kettle. Kettle is part of the Goblin family. He is slow mana speed, his class is Cleric, and his ether power is special armor. All of the goblins have a very good passive with the effects on special skill passive. He has a 60% chance to perform the following actions when this character casts their special skill. Deals 90% damage to all enemies, and all enemies get minus 25% accuracy for 3 turns. So definitely a good passive, but I am not a fan of his special skill at all. So Kettle is going to cook a random special effect. The first effect is called Exquisite Food, and this is probably the best of the 3 scenarios. It has a 45% chance to activate, and this will recover 50% health for all allies, and it will also add a growth effect where all allies get 400 defense. The second effect, called Rotten Food, also has a 45% chance. This deals 350% damage to all enemies, and all enemies receive 965 poison damage over 5 turns. And then the last one, definitely the worst of the 3 scenarios, Catastrophic Kitchen Failure. This has a 10% chance to happen, and it will deal 100% damage to all allies and all enemies. Given the fact that he's slow mana speed, and if you were to get your 10 or 11 tiles or whatever you have with your troops to get Kettle activated, and if that third scenario happens at just a 10% chance, if I had Kettle, I would be so annoyed, and that's definitely something that could literally change the outcome of a battle. And then as far as the other 2 options, the first one's definitely very good, recovering 50% health and getting the 400 defense for all allies, but you're not really going to know if you need to heal or if you need to attack your enemy. The damage is decent, but honestly, it's really nothing crazy for a slow mana speed hero, and 965 poison over 5 turns is a lot of turns for that much poison. Kettle should really be an average speed hero, honestly, with the special. If we were to compare him to somebody like Grimsteel, he heals, I think, 54% health for all allies and adds 450 defense and attack for all allies with that growth factor, and he is also slow mana speed. So the best of these situations for Kettle only has a 45% chance to happen, and it's not as good as Grimsteel's slow mana speed special. So that is why I have Kettle starting out here at number 15, and definitely somebody I would stay away from unless if you really want a goblin on your roster. If you do want to go with Kettle, he is going to cost you 10 souls. And moving on to number 14, I've got Zhong Shenjun. There is a 100% chance that I pronounced that incorrectly, so I apologize about that, but he is part of the Journey family. His mana speed is average, his class is Paladin, and his ether power is heal increase. And interestingly enough, he is a 15 soul hero, and I have ranked him at number 14. I really do not think that he's that good. He has no passive, and for his special skill, it is called the Fury of the Mountain Lord. He is going to reduce the max health of all enemies by 800 over 4 turns. Max health can't get lower than 30% of the original max health, and then all allies regenerate 800 boosted health over 4 turns. Boosted health can't exceed max HP. All enemies will then get minus 24% mana generation for 4 turns, and all allies get plus 24% mana generation for 4 turns. I am really not a fan of the 800 boosted health and 800 max health over the course of 4 turns. That's only 200 health per turn. I do really like max health reducers, but I just feel like it takes too long for that max health to get reduced reduce, because if you're going to use him to reduce the max health of somebody, typically you would want to follow that up with an attacking special right after that, or the next turn, or whenever you're going to get your mana. But if you use this and then you use an attacking special and then the max health continues to get reduced afterwards, they're not actually losing any health at that time, where if he were to reduce 800 max health right away and then you used the attacking specials right after, they're going to have much less health after that type of effect. So if you do not have any max health reducers, then he could be a good option for you, but I just do not think that he is a great hero from this soul exchange, and definitely not worth 15 souls, and that is why I have him ranked at number 14. Coming in at number 13, I have another hero that is going to cost 15 souls, and that's going to be Serendite. So Serendite is part of the ninja family. His mana speed is charged, so he's going to have those 3 different charges. His class is barbarian, and his ether power is defense up. He does not have a passive. All of the ninjas are going to have these 3 different mana charges, depending if you have them at 100, 200, or 300% mana. For his first charge, he's going to deal 160% damage to all enemies. All enemies get 256 burn damage over 2 turns. All enemies get minus 64% decrease of any healing received for 3 turns. Honestly, the only good thing, in my opinion, out of that is the decreased healing of minus 64% for 3 turns. 160% damage is like nothing at this point in the game right now, and to get 128 burn damage 2 turns in a row is also not a lot of damage at this point in the game. His second mana charge is going to deal 275% damage to all enemies. All enemies are going to get 561 burn damage over 3 turns, and then the enemies are then going to get minus 74% decrease for any healing received for 3 turns. And the third mana charge, he's going to deal 340% damage to all enemies. All enemies get 840 burn damage over 4 turns. All enemies get minus 84% decrease of any healing received for 4 turns. So obviously the second and third charges are better than that first charge, but I really still do not think that's enough damage, and the burn damage is very low considering for how many turns it's going to be over. The decreased healing is probably the most useful part of his special, in my opinion. Combine that with the fact that his total individual power is only 1165. Keep in mind that total individual powers are up over 1500 at this point in the game right now, when heroes are double limit broken with master class emblems, so he is definitely not going to be able to keep up with the new heroes that are in the game. Moving on to number 12, I've got Nima, who is also a fire hero and is back in the 10 soul exchange option. I actually think that Nima is a better option than Serendite. I know Nima is not considered to be a great hero of the month, and I don't think that they're a great hero. I just think that they are a better option than the ones we've already discussed. She is part of the 2023 family. Her mana speed is average, her class is druid, and her ether power is ailment immunity, which is my favorite ether power in the game, except for ailment reflect, which only a couple heroes in the game have right now. She has 2 passives. The first is resist special skill blocking. So this is extremely useful. This character has innate resistance against status ailments that block special skills. That's going to include silencers, but that's also going to include the Von Rothbart effect with the dancing. She will get hit with the damage, but she's not going to get that dancing effect because that is considered an effect that blocks a special skill. And then her second passive, she is going to ignore taunt. This character's special skill ignores taunt. So when she attacks all, which we'll go over in a second, she will be able to bypass the taunt and still be able to attack all if an enemy has taunt activated. And for her special skill, the Fire Tigers, she's going to deal 250% damage to all enemies, is going to summon a Fire Tiger Fiend to all enemies, and the Fiend damages the target with 45% attack every turn. The Fiend absorbs healing and disappears after absorbing a healing amount equal to 45% of its target's max health. When summoned, the Fire Tiger Fiend's target cannot cast any new taunt status effects for as long as the target has a Fire Target Fiend. This effect cannot be cleansed. And then they also have an elemental link, giving all fire allies plus 10% additional special skill damage for 4 turns. This effect cannot be dispelled. So not a great hero, obviously, but she's got some decent attack. The Fiends need 45% healing to go away, which is not too bad. The resist special skill blocking is pretty good. Ailment immunity as an ether power. She's a druid, so she's going to get those thorn minions. We've definitely got some better options, but if you need a red attacker for a low price of just 10 souls, then Nima might be an okay option for you. Coming in at number 11, I've got Queen Guwang. She is part of the Journey family. Her mana speed is average, her class is sorcerer, and her ether power is fiend resist. She does not have a passive, but her special skill, the Queen's Radiance, is going to deal 330% damage to all enemies. All allies are then going to get 10% mana every time an enemy uses their special skill during 4 turns. Mana is received at the end of the special skill. Mana will not be received if this status effect is removed during a special skill. The caster also gets Vengeance for 4 turns. If Vengeance is dispelled by a special skill, all enemies receive 525 damage. So she's going to deal a decent amount of damage with the 330%, and then any hero that has the ability to add mana to any of their allies with something like this when special skills are cast is definitely extremely useful, and that's the main reason why I have her at number 11. If you do want to grab Queen Guwang, it will cost you 10 souls. And moving on to number 10, I've got Mortimer. Mortimer is part of the Beach Party family. His mana speed is average, his class is rogue, and his ether power is attack up. For his passives, he has 2 of them. The first is resist water damage. This character has innate resistance against water damage, which makes sense since he's part of the Beach Party family. He's part of the summer family, basically. His second passive is damage over time on special. When this character casts her special skill, all enemies receive 202 water damage over 2 turns. And then for his special skill, the Tidal Waves, deals 480% damage to the target and minor damage to nearby enemies. The target and nearby enemies get silenced for 3 turns. The caster and nearby allies resist new effects that block the usage of special skills for 3 turns. So he's going to deal 480% damage to 1, minor to 2, and then he's going to give silence to 3 and be able to prevent silence or any other effects that prevent the use of special skills for 3 turns. So the silencing obviously is the bigger factor because that's a guarantee depending on the class of hero that you're using it up against, and that they're not tunes and that they're not Construct Core family members. So that's something you want to keep in mind also. Construct Core family members cannot be silenced. They have that same passive as Nima that we just looked at. So definitely keep that in mind if you do decide to grab Mortimer. Mortimer is another hero that's only going to cost you 10 souls. So I really do think that he is a good value for that as well. Moving on to number 9, we have the last of our 10 soul exchange options. I've got Costume Heimdall. He is part of the Asgard family. His mana speed is slow. His class is Wizard and his ether power is Bulwark. So Bulwark, what is that, you ask? Well, he's going to start with 15% defense up, and then every time he gets hit over the course of 6 turns, it's going to add 1% defense to that defense up. His original class is Paladin, so just something to keep in mind for him. If you do decide to get him, then you'll need some Paladin emblems if you want to add those to him. He does not have a passive, but his special skill is called the Blessing of Gjallarhorn. Definitely mispronounced that, but what that's going to do is it's going to give each fallen ally a 50% chance to get revived with 20% health. All allies are then going to get plus 50% attack for 4 turns, and all allies are going to regenerate 672 boosted health over 4 turns. Boosted health can exceed max HP. I really like the plus 50% attack up, and having a 50% chance to revive a fallen hero is definitely an extremely high rate. Obviously, being slow mana speed is not ideal. Revivers are definitely very useful in Rush War, but can be used outside of Rush War as well. And if you don't have a reviver right now, then Heimdall definitely could be a good option for you. Moving on to number 8, and this may surprise some people. This may be one of those situations where you need to stand up for your hero and say that they should have been higher. Let me know if this hero is that one for you. But at number 8, I've got Waterpipe. We'll go over in a moment why I have him this low, because I do feel like that there are a lot of people that want to grab Waterpipe, but he is part of the Plane Hunter family. His mana speed is average, his class is Fighter, and his ether power is attack up. He has 2 passives. The first is the status effect on special skill. When this character casts their special skill, they give a Hunter's Mark on a random enemy. The target receives 150 damage over 3 turns. If a target already has this effect, the duration will be refreshed and the damage will be increased with 150 up to 1500 damage in total. His second passive is special skill damage reduction. This character has a 10% chance to negate minus 100% of the direct damage received from special skills. And then for his special skill, the Harpoon Sentry, he is going to summon a Harpoon Sentry minion for all allies with 12% health and 20% attack inherited from the caster. Each hit from a Harpoon Sentry minion reduces the mana of the target by minus 5% and gives the target the following status ailments: minus 30% defense against special skills for 2 turns, and the target is immune to new status effect buffs for 2 turns. So I am not going to argue with the fact that Waterpipe is a very cool hero. Any hero that can reduce mana of an enemy is very useful, but two things stick out to me. One, his total individual power only being 1190 and his defense and health being quite low for this point in the game right now. Combine that with the fact that his minions are only going to give 12% HP. Yes, those minions will help prevent enemies from using special skills, but even regular attacks are going to get rid of those minions. Water Pipe is probably not somebody to be used on defense because of how weak he is right now. Of course, depending on the level of the alliance and type of enemies that you're going up against in war. But for most players, he is definitely not going to be somebody that is going to be defense worthy. So probably somebody more designed for offense. And again, those minions are going to get taken out with a single attack from the opposing defense. That plus how many Garrison Guard family members we see on defenses and the fact that they resist mana reduction along with tunes, all of that is why I have him so low at number 8. If you do want to grab Water Pipe, he will cost you 15 souls. Coming in at number 7, I have a hero that's going to cost you 20 souls. So that means I've got two other heroes that cost 15 souls above this one. And again, this is not to say that this hero is a bad choice. I just think that there are some options that are better. But at number 7, I have Xiomara. Xiomara is part of the Stag family. She is average mana speed. Her class is Cleric, and her ether power is Ailment Immunity. For her passive, she has health recovery on buff received. This character recovers 5% health when they receive a buff or positive stack. And for her special skill, Power of the Forest, deals 300% damage to all enemies. The caster gets an additional plus 100% power for the next special skill they cast. The additional power increases plus 25% each turn, up to a maximum of plus 200% in total. All enemies receive mana corruption for 4 turns. Mana corruption deals 400 damage each time they receive mana from an additional source. Additional sources include direct mana addition from special skills, status effects, level properties, passive skills, family effects, tile effects, and minion. Mana added for defense team at the end of their turn or from matching tiles is included only if the target has a mana generation buff or a positive mana generation stack. So Xiomara is definitely a very specific hero as far as how to get the most use out of her. Definitely very useful against heroes that have minions that increase mana like Forces. Definitely extremely useful against heroes that give instant mana like Nautica or Ludwig or Hathor. So all of you Hathor haters can add this as a reason why other heroes are better than her. But overall, Xiomara, a great option. Definitely a hard hitter with that 300% damage to all enemies. Her total individual power is 1304. This is really the first hero that we've gotten to that has an individual power this high. The additional power that they get with their next special skills, the mana corruption, definitely a very useful hero, but in my opinion, just a little bit too niche with the mana corruption for 4 turns based on the fact that you have to be going up against heroes that have those types of effects. If you do want to grab Xiomara, again, she will cost you 20 souls. Coming in at number 6, I've got Odette. She is part of the Opera family. Her mana speed is average. Her class is Paladin, and her ether power is Dodge. She has 2 passives. The first is Heal when ailment expires or is cleansed. Character receives 10% health each time an ailment expires or is cleansed, removed, or reallocated from them. It can only activate once per turn. And then their second passive is Resist Defense Ailments. This character has innate resistance against ailments that affect defense. Does not apply to a status effects that affect elemental defense. So that passive is also definitely very useful against heroes like Prophet or Pepper Flame during Equalizer War where the extra damage goes off, because Odette will not even get that defense down to trigger that extra damage. So definitely something to keep in mind there. And then for her special skill, the Dance of the Swan, the caster regenerates 609 health over 3 turns. The caster gets plus 45% chance to dodge special skills that deal damage for 3 turns. And then she's going to cast the Dance of the Swan to the other 4 allies for 3 turns, removes all other status effects. Dance of the Swan will give plus 45% chance to dodge attacks and special skills, and then will give a 50% chance to deal 360% damage to a random enemy after an ally casts a special skill. Gives immunity to new status effects. This effect cannot be dispelled. This effect is removed when the caster dies. So she's pretty much going to give 45% chance to dodge special skills to everybody, and then all of the other allies except her will also have a 45% chance to dodge normal attacks. And then that 50% chance to deal 360% damage to a random enemy after an ally caster special skill is very similar to the Dark Feather effect when he goes off. When Dark Feather goes off, all 5 allies have a chance to deal, I think it's 250% damage. When Odette goes off, it's just the 4 other allies that are dancing that are going to have that 50% chance to deal 360% damage though. So definitely a cool hero in that regard. And then remember, those dancing effects are great ways to avoid the Bernadette special with the paintings or any other heroes that give status ailments to the enemies. If you do want to get Odette, then she will cost you 20 souls. So we are about to crack the top 5. We just talked about 2 heroes that cost 20 souls. That means that we have 2 heroes that will cost 15 in the top 5, according to my opinion. And coming at number 5, we have our first of those heroes that will cost 15 souls. I have Winnie, who is part of the Bear family. She is slow mana speed. Her class is Paladin, and her ether power is defense up. She has 2 passives. The first is health recovery on buff received. This character recovers 5% health when they receive a buff or positive stack. And her second passive is mana on buff received. This character regains 5% mana when they receive a buff or positive stack. And for her special skill, the Ursine Protection, she's going to cleanse status ailments from all allies. Then she is going to boost health of all allies by 1200. Boosted health can exceed max HP. All allies resist max health reduction for 5 turns. And then all allies are going to get plus 60% defense as long as the caster has boosted health. This effect cannot be dispelled. Winnie also has a very strong individual power of 1363 when you have her double limit broken with masterclass emblems. This is actually the highest individual power out of any of the heroes in the Soul Exchange for February 2025. So definitely something to take into consideration, especially when you take a look at her high defense and her high health. Obviously, she is a support hero. She also has the highest boosted health to all allies out of any hero in the game, I believe. And then plus the fact that all allies are going to get plus 60% defense for as long as Winnie has boosted health. If you can keep her with that boosted health, then that's going to make battles go a lot easier. Personally, I would probably pair her with another healer that heals a certain percentage. That way you can use that one first, and then by the time Winnie goes off, she's probably already going to have full health, so that boosted health will have a higher chance of staying boosted health, especially with that plus 60% defense. And again, if you want to get Winnie, she will cost you 15 souls. Coming in at number 4, I have another holy hero. We've got Kushanku. Kushanku is part of the ninja family. He is the charge mana speed, of course. His class is Paladin, and his ether power is ailment immunity. He does not have any passives, and he also has the longest special skill in the game. I actually get really annoyed when I do these types of ranking videos, and when I come across ninja heroes with the 3 different charges, it is very annoying to have to fit their special into one of these slides. So I did shorten it a little bit considering how similar the different charges are. So for his first charge, he's going to deal 280% damage to the target. The caster goes into hiding for 2 turns. While hidden, the caster cannot receive new effects or stacks, and all damage is reduced by minus 20%. When the caster comes out of hiding, they deal 214 damage to all enemies who used special skills while the caster was in hiding. The target automatically casts Mindless Attack on a random ally when mana is full at the start of a turn during 2 turns. So the 280% damage obviously is not that high. The effect with the caster going into hiding and dealing 214 damage to any enemy that casts a special skill is also not that great, but the target getting Mindless Attack from a hero that can give it after only 5 tiles is why Kushanku is so high. I'm going to talk about his second and third charge just in a moment, but I want to talk about the importance of that, because when you are going up against heroes like Bernadette or like Fergus, yes, I know Fergus can have a 30% chance to resist it with his monk class, but going up against heroes like them, when you have heroes like Kushanku, make it possible for you to be able to resist the effects of their special skills. In the last Soul Exchange in November, I think is when it was, Oni Wakamara was considered to be one of the best heroes in that Soul Exchange, and I would consider Kushanku to be better than Oni Wakamaro because they have the same effect where they can activate in 5 tiles. Oni Wakamaro is going to give that dispellable taunt so that when Bernadette goes off, it only turns him into a painting. Kushanku is going to make it so that nobody gets turned into a painting and nobody receives damage from Bernadette with his special. So because of that, I would rate Kushanku above Oni Wakamaro. That's why I have him so high at number 4. For his second mana charge, it's the same as the first charge, except he's going to deal 370% damage to the target. He goes into hiding for 3 turns. The reduced damage is minus 30%, and the damage for any special skills cast is 298 to the enemies, and the mindless attack is for 3 turns. The third mana charge is the same as the first charge, except it deals 450% damage to the target, goes into hiding for 4 turns. The reduced damage is minus 40%. Damage from special skills is 329, and the mindless attack is for 4 turns. So with a hero like Kushanku, you're just getting his special charge, and then you're timing it to make sure that the mindless attack will go off when the enemy is about to cast their special skill. So definitely a cool hero, especially considering you can get him activated in just 5 tiles. If you do want to get Kushanku, he will cost you 20 souls. Coming in at number 3, and this is probably going to be one that surprises a lot of people, but I think that she is the best value in this soul exchange, so high that I have her rated at number 3. I've got Costumed Mayat. She is part of the Sun family, which is part of Season 5. She is fast mana speed, her class is Paladin, and her ether power is damage reduction. She has 3 passives. The first is effects on special skill. She has a 50% chance to perform the following actions when this character casts her special skill. Deals 70% damage to all enemies. All enemies get minus 34% attack for 3 turns. Her second passive is mana on health boosting special skill. This character gains 5% mana each time an enemy casts a special skill that boosts health. And then her third passive is only if you have her costume, which is the extra chance for effects on special skills. So when this character casts their special skill, any of their passive skills that grant extra effects on cast have 3 chances to activate. So that's not going to apply to that middle one about mana on health boosting special skill, since that one is for other enemies specials. But the first one, where she has a chance to deal 70% damage to all enemies, that's going to potentially activate 3 times. So that's an extra potentially 210% damage to all enemies. And then for her special skill, Protector of the Blue River, she's going to deal 220% damage to all enemies. All enemies get minus 35% defense for 3 turns, and all fire enemies get minus 20% attack for 3 turns. So honestly, that last part is probably not that useful. You are primarily going to be using Mayat on offense, and if you are using her on offense, chances are you are not going up against a lot of fire heroes. But she's fast mana speed, she's going to give that minus 35% defense for 3 turns, and she's going to deal 220% damage to all enemies, with the potential of having another 210% damage on top of that. And it's pretty much guaranteed that based on the 3 chances for the minus 34% attack for 3 turns to activate, that all enemies will get that minus 34% attack. Combine all of that with the fact that she has an individual total power of 1342, and the fact that she is a Season 5 costume, which if you've been around the game long enough, you know that the season costumes regularly get buffs added to them, so that individual power is only gonna go up. Definitely a great value for 15 souls, and definitely a great overall hero at number 3 on my list. Coming in at number 2, I've got Black Caesar. Black Caesar is part of the Pirate family. He is average mana speed, his class is Cleric, and his ether power is Revive. For his passive, it is resist damage from status effects. This character has innate resistance against incoming damage from status effects. And then for his special skill, the Pirate's Vengeance, he's going to deal 335% damage to all enemies, summons a Pirate Skeleton Fiend for all enemies. The Fiend damages the enemy with 100% attack every turn. The Pirate Skeleton Fiend absorbs healing and disappears after absorbing a healing amount equal to 45% of its target's max health. Also, when summoned, the Pirate Skeleton Fiend gives minus 45% attack for its owner for as long as the owner has Pirate Skeleton Fiends. This effect cannot be cleansed. So he's average speed, hits all for 335% damage, gives that Pirate Skeleton Fiend, which is also going to attack 100% every turn while that Fiend is on the enemy, and the enemies are going to get minus 45% attack. He's got a total individual power of 1313, which is pretty decent right now. Definitely a great option, and that is why I have him at number 2. If you do want to grab Black Caesar, he will cost you 20 souls. And coming in at number 1, I have Deadboot. So this is the second soul exchange in a row I've done a ranking video where I've had a Dark Hero at number 1, but I do have Deadboot. He is part of the Goblin family. His mana speed is very fast. His class is Rogue, and his Ether power is attack up. For his passive, he has effects on special skill. He has a 30% chance to perform the following actions when this character casts their special skill. Deals 90% damage to all enemies. All enemies get minus 25% accuracy for 3 turns. And for his special skill, Unhallowed Spirits, he's going to lift all dispellable status effect buffs from the target and randomly distributes them on allies. Deals 375% damage to the target. Deals an additional 50% damage per transferred status effect buff, up to 625% damage in total. He is also going to add a Wither effect. The target gets minus 300% defense. The last part of his special with the Wither effect, combined with the fact that he's very fast mana speed, is why I have him ranked so high. So he is a great sniper, dealing minimally 375% damage to the target at very fast mana speed, and he's going to add that Wither effect with the minus 300 defense. That is extremely useful if you're having trouble taking down a tank, if you want to use him against Titans, Mythic Titans. And remember, very fast mana speed will activate in 6.5 tiles, and it's very easy to get it down to 6 tiles with just plus 9% mana generation increase, which is very easily done by any mana troop or a legendary troop. So Deadboot has a lot of uses, especially considering the fact that he's very fast mana speed. And that is the full ranking list from worst to first for the February 2025 Soul Exchange. Definitely let me know who you think I ranked too low or too high. Now is the time to stand up for your heroes. As far as who I am going to be grabbing, I probably would grab Deadboot if I didn't have him already. He's been sitting at 3.70 for a little while now. I keep on getting Dark Heroes that keep on jumping in front of him because they're more useful for war for me with my roster. Black Caesar is definitely an option, but I'm probably going to go with Costume Mayat. I like the fact that she has probably a longer shelf life because of the fact that she already has a costume, and she's probably going to continue to get buffs in the game. And I could definitely use a defense down hero with some of the other attack all heroes that I have on my green roster. So I am likely going to go with her. And again, she is a great value for just 15 souls. Let me know who you all are thinking about grabbing, but that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you did enjoy it or found it helpful. And if you did, hit that like button. Make sure you sub to my channel, and I'll catch you guys next time.